Hello and good afternoon also from my side. My name is Andreas Lehner. I'm working for the Group, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the journey the Group together with Software AG made on a web method level. And I'm going to tell you this from 2 points of view. One is the IT strategy, which is mainly my responsibility here as well, and the other one is the business strategy. And we will hear how Software AG helped us to decompose the monolith, or at least start our journey there, and how we came up with something that we called plug-and-play integration together with our help from Igor and his team at IGT. Good. So the Group, we're a manufacturing company split into 2 lines of business. One of them is the board and paper division. We produce cardboard and paper products that you might not be too familiar with. Just to give you an idea, big reels of carton board, another product, printing paper. Maybe not the most sexy product. The other one, however, is DMM packaging, where we produce packaging out of cardboard and paper for everyday products. And I bet that every one of you over the last few days were in touch with one of our products. Give you an idea here, might have been over breakfast, over lunch, dessert afterwards, a drink in the evening, if you did your laundry, for example, chores, or if you had been sick, overcoming a sickness. These are products. As you said, we don't make the products itself, we make the packaging for those products. So what you need to know from the Group are basically 3 things. We're a manufacturing company, we're operating globally, worldwide, and at the moment we are expanding. My manager likes to say we're growing like hell at the moment over the last 2 years. This is a growth of 50%, which of course has a huge impact also on the integration we're talking about. And also, we're working a lot with analogies here. One of them here again is the IT strategy in general, and I took myself here. So my journey started at the Group over a decade ago now, and life back then was rather simple. We had one main system, which was usually the ERP system, and all business processes were supported in this one system. And also, well, we're an Austrian-based company, rather traditional as well. Back then, we were growing organically, rather slowly. And as I said, over the last 10 years, a lot has changed. Our business strategy has changed. We are growing, expanding very fast. And also the IT landscape, and this is something you all might have noticed, has changed a lot. We're not only having one system nowadays, but a lot of satellite expert systems, and none of them can operate on its own. They need to exchange data. And so for both of those changes that I perceived over the last year, integration and how you do integration needs to be reconsidered and rethought. And this is exactly what Igor is going to tell you a little bit about.
Thank you, Andreas. I will start with a historical question. Do you know these guys? It's a French national team that won a World Cup in 1998. If you want to be on the top like them, you have to be innovative, progressive, and go-getting. Like Thierry Henry and Zinedine Zidane 25 years ago, when they still had, as you can see, nice thick haircuts. I believe that professional sports and IT business are similar. If you want to stay in a game, you need this essence of youth: progression, innovation, and go-getting. But on the same time, the guidance from older mentors is needed. Young French players had an experienced coach that was leading them, and many others who were helping as well. Let's go back to the future, to present. Zinedine Zidane and Thierry Henry, they are not playing professional football anymore. And as you can see, they changed their haircut as well. But they also changed their role. They are the leaders now. They're helping youngsters to reach a new top. I'm over 40, and my prime time as the web methods consultant who was traveling around the world is over. But same as Henri and Zidane, I decided to pass my experience to younger generation. Because I believe that same as in sports, in IT business, success is only possible where you join experience of elders with this special creativity of young. And that's exactly what we are doing at IGT. We are helping clients, long-term, successful, traditional companies with a lot of experience to adapt new, fresh perspectives. And that's what Andreas asked us to do when we met for the first time 2 years ago. He came up with a quite demanding pilot project. One of Factory that is located in the mountains underwent a complex modernization to triple their production capacity. It means the same factory is producing 3 times more goods. And 3 times more goods means 3 times more trucks on their yard. But they are located in a mountain, so they cannot grow in a physical scale too much. They had to change something else. So they changed their manual process with trucks with automation. To achieve that, it was necessary, within 3 short months, create and implement around 30 to 40 web methods interfaces. And we did it. The result, average time needed to manage one truck is only quarter of original one. So 400% increase in time efficiency. They can easily cover more than 200 trucks per day. Another question from history. Who remember Power Rangers? Yeah, good. It was a popular show in the 90s. It was about 5 heroes with their robots, and they fought against evil forces. And you remember what they did every time when they were on the verge of defeat? They combined their robots to create Megazord. And with Megazord, they always won. Similarly, companies like are reacting to various dangers these days. They are merging with other companies. They are buying factories or even entire divisions. And why? To survive and get stronger. As Andreas mentioned, bought in less than 3 years over 20 factories, and one of them is Quidzin. Andreas can tell you more about Quidzin.
Yeah, because Quidzin is, first of all, it's one of our latest acquisitions, and it's definitely one of the biggest acquisitions we've done recently. Just to give you an idea, the area that the plant covers is roughly the same as if you combine Monaco and Vatican City. It has its own power plant and train station. The power plant even fueling some of the town it's located in. And the railworks and roads it has on the factory side, you can run 2 marathons on. So this is quite huge in the manufacturing perspective. And what we had to do is we acquired this from one of our competitors. They were also using that method back then. And what we had to do is we had to unplug the integration present at this time and plug it into our systems. And the time frame we had for this was just under 12 months.
Yeah. 12 months to do so complex action as unplug entire factory and then plug it again to a new ecosystem, I believe is a quite decent time. And I also believe that many of you underwent something similar with the merge. How often have you postponed your deadlines because of the troubles during the merge? How many weekends have you sacrificed because of some troubles during the merge? And how many complicated issues you have to work with, like, for example, confidential data? And what's the root cause of that? Because when the systems were designed, nobody thought about the scenario of merge. But we need it faster. There are 20 more factories that are waiting to be integrated. We cannot wait 12 months to each of them. So, how to do it differently? Imagine this scenario. adding a new factory will not take 12 months, but only 6 instead. And your management will not complain about budget exceeding. Instead, you can use the saved money for some innovative new IT projects. And your integration team can be amongst the first one who can say, guys, we are ready for merge, you can start whenever you want. And cherry on the top, as easily as the new systems and factories can be added to the company ecosystem, they can also be removed. So how to unlock this integration potential? First, you have to change the way how you are looking on integration. It has to be a less traditional one. If you want your company to grow bigger, you need to make your components smaller. Or in other hand, or other words, if you want to succeed in integration, you have to disintegrate first. Let's go back to the past. Years, decades ago, integration platforms like web methods started as the small and compact ones. But as the time was passing, they become bigger monoliths. And yes, these monoliths are working perfectly fine. And they will fulfill their job for many more years. But imagine one thing, how complicated it is to merge 2 monolithic castles like this one. So what we have to do? We have to rebuild it to the smaller pieces. You can start with something simple, like recent add-on with the limited connections to other blocks. And then you can go deeper and deeper. And at the end, you will have something like connected community area. I'm glad that IGT was able to help to integrate faster and implement the CI/CD principle. But there is Let's go back to Quits and Plant. In Quits and Plant, we used these 12 months that were dedicated for handover of monolith for something extra as well. We define a new future design and we call it plug-and-play integration concept. And this plug-and-play integration concept was done in multiple steps. Step number 1 was define logical blocks. In our case, it was like logistics and finance and so on. In number 2, for each logical blocks, we created container. Number 3, we re-evaluated and improved usage of existing software AG components. It was special integration server and universal messaging. And number 4, the biggest challenge, create the new guidelines. Because it's always the most difficult to change the way how the people are used to think and work. As I said, I'm glad that we were able to help with faster integration or implementing CI/CD principle, but there is one more thing that I really hate, and it's black box solutions. Because black box solutions are leading to mistrust. That's why I prefer transparency, because transparency is the cornerstone for a good cooperation. That's why IGT involved in every single possible technical discussions. So now is real and actual owner of this solution. And to prove it, Andreas, as the leader on side, will show you the technical details of plug-and-play integration concept. Andreas.
And before we come to this, so we will have not a live demo, but I'm going to show some videos today. I'm just going to give you a short setting on how we started on decomposing the monolith and also what was important for us on this side. So we can see this residential area here. The main point for me is a certain set of automation to reduce the manual efforts and the error proneness. And we achieved this with a very neat and tidy set of CI/CD pipelines. And the second one, as was just mentioned before and also earlier today, is transparency. This is very important to reduce also our involvement in incident handling and enabling us to focus on what we actually want to do, which is new integrations. And it just demystifies this black box, as we just heard beforehand, and creates trust. On the left-hand side here, you can see the residential area that we have now. So those are our logical blocks. We've heard this today already, I think from Schwarz IT and also from Deutsche Post. So, but how do we cut our repository? And this is a very important and a very difficult decision. This was definitely in this project also the time where we spent most discussion on. And we came up with, as we said, we're a manufacturing company. We came up with the different modules that we're using in the systems: procurement, sales, production, execution, planning, and so on and so forth. And we added another layer of how we separate them, which is whether it's a global component that we use, or whether it is a site-specific. So you can see it's either global or KWI here in this case stands for quits in the mill that we presented beforehand. And as I said, what I'd like to show, we're not brave enough for a live demo here, but what we have presented is I really want to show you how this is working at the MM Group, and this is in production. This is how we at the moment really deliver new integrations, a set of videos just to go over this and show you a little bit. So we start with the new requirement being defined here in Azure DevOps. In this case, it's a use case that we built up. For this one, we add to an existing integration that we have already. We add a new field, currency. On this PBI, we create a new branch on, I'm going to run this again, sorry. Does this work? No, I didn't try this out. Yes, there we go. So on this PBI, we then create a new branch specifically for this feature. This is again Git hosted on Azure. We've heard this before already today as well. And this is basically it. You then clone your repository on your local development environment. We just jump to the designer very quickly, where you then really clone the repository there, do whatever you need to do. And as I said, the use case is a rather simple one. We have an existing API already. All we want to do is we want to add a new field, which is called currency in this case here. So this can be then easily done, as we know, with the mapping in the graphical user interface that we have. I'm just waiting for this to come up. And then in the end, what we do, and we will reference to this a little bit later on, so please bear in mind, we're going to then change the version number as well. So this is the mapping done. We're basically done with the fulfilling the requirement. We change the version number here, and then we can commit this. We have a 4i principle, so what happens then is we will commit this back to our repository. We create a new pull request, which is a merge request in GitLab if you're using other technologies, where we state, again, this is the code that we've done. We can review it inline, and once this is created, nothing happens at this point because this is just a pull request, and we have a 4i principle here, it's pure organizational topic, so that the developer creates the pull request, but we have someone else who's actually approving it. And in this case, in our case, it's the application owner who's also taken over the role as a release manager. Then what happens is that our CI/CD pipelines get triggered. Again, this is Azure build and Azure release pipelines. So we can see the pipeline run here. Scroll over this a little bit. This takes a while, and it's then getting deployed to our on-prem Kubernetes cluster that we have. So you can see here again the log files. We're using Ranger in this case for the container orchestration. We're following the logs here a little bit. We have auto tests here that run automatically also in the background. And once this is done, the pipeline is there and it's deployed to the stage wherever it's meant to be deployed to. In this case, we also have 2 non-productive environments, the test and the demo, and 1 productive environment. And with this pipeline runs, you can define this new feature that we're just talking about here now. First shall be deployed to the test environment. Once the tests, either auto tests or manual tests if you want to, are okay, we're moving on and we can deploy it to the demo stage and finally then to the prod stage. One of the good things here is that with Kubernetes, it basically it provides an out-of-the-box feature, which is the zero downtime, where you can, while you deploy, a new container is spawned up, and only once this is available, the ingress route is switched over, and then the old one is switched down. So we want to show this here with a repeated ping, and you can see basically this happens every second, and from 1 second to another without the downtime, it switches from version 1.0.1 to 1.0.2, which is the new version that we just built and deployed to the system. And one of the last things here that again were mentioned beforehand in the case of transparency is we posting those things on Teams, just that everyone knows what has been promoted to what environment, and we are doing quite a bit of logging in our on-prem Elastic Stack, which is available to all the other application owners as well. So if SAP is integrated with, I don't know, SuccessFactors, for example, and you have integrations that are going back and forth and something doesn't happen, it hardly ever is an integration problem. It's usually data problem or in the backend some other issues. And with the integration in Elastic Stack and really making this available to everyone, this increased the transparency and reduced our efforts in the incident handling and analysis and so on and so forth. So this is then the last step here. We are notifying everyone this PBI has now been promoted to either the test environment or the productive environment. You have a link here with a link automatically to Azure DevOps of the PBI. So if someone is interested and said, is this now my feature that I requested, has this been deployed or not, they can have a look here. Of course, you can see this in Azure DevOps as well, but Azure is in this case something that we keep track of and care for, and we don't give access there to anyone. So again, here, Teams notification is there. If you know this was my feature, you can see it's now been promoted to test, for example. Good. This was the live demo as well. Maybe just to wrap this up. As you've seen, we've been working with analogies here a little bit. Here we have the Power Ranger for the IT strategy as well. And the IT strategy needs to support your business strategy. And if a change is happening, a change always starts with a change of mindset. And only once this is established, you can then also support this with a certain set of tools. One of the things that if you want to decompose your monolith is also the change of licenses. We've heard today, new license model is subscription or transaction based, which might be hard to argue if you're running a monolith, because if you have good contracts, why would you switch? But if you want to change to a new landscape, running in multiple containers and so on, this is definitely the way to go, and something to keep in the back of your mind. And the third takeaway is there might be a new set of tools and technologies coming up for you, depending on how your strategy is. This might be something that you can build up in your own company, or it's something where you need to reach out to your extended network, to partners like we did with IGT, for example, to Software AG, who offers with professional services good support there as well. And also, it's important, I think, to reach out to peers. This is also one of the main reasons why I'm here and why I'm presenting today, because I want to increase my network. I had a lot of good discussions yesterday and over the last few months already, ever since we came up with this as well. So this is me, Andreas Lehner. Please feel free to connect with me either via LinkedIn, but I'm also here for the rest of the day, in the evening and tomorrow. So preferably you find some time and just we have a chat over a coffee in one of the breaks that we have later on.
Just
Igor.
press the button.
And this is Igor.
Thank you. As I said, I like transparency. That's why I'm sharing my knowledge on LinkedIn as well with my integration stories, so feel free to connect. And I still see we have a few minutes, so I can tell you one successful story during the project. Innovation is not path without problems. We will always face the problems. One of our problem during the containerization was SAP adapter. It didn't work properly in container. But we contacted SAG in one day. On the second day, they made a meeting with us, and in 2 additional working days, they give us the solution. So thank you, Software AG, for that.
Thank you very much. Well, and thank you very much. So also, I think we stuck to the time plan. Look at this. So we would have some time as well for some questions if there are any. As I said, if not, or if in the audience you don't want to ask, we're here anyway. No? Fine. Well then,
no questions?
I'm happy and looking for...
Yeah, there is one question.
There?
Oh. Thanks. I just wanted to ask if you've deployed all the plug-and-play integrations and you have to switch versions. You have to upgrade WebMethods versions. How do you do it? I mean, do you create another plug-and-play integration and then you just deploy it everywhere, or is it more complicated if you have only one system?
Well, at the moment we have a set of, what is it, I think 15 or 20 containers that we have, and when we upgrade them, how you keep the old version, if this is the question now, is...
Can you reverse if anything?
Yes, you can rerun. Well, the good thing about running it on containers, you save your container image as well, so the fully built and readily tested image you save. We don't use Artifactory, we use Harbor, but that depends on what your preferences are. And if you're not happy because, well, something slipped through the tests and you need to revert, you have the image from the previous version still there, so it's yet just another mouse click where you say, let's go back to the old version. Yeah. But good question. This was definitely also when we designed our pipelines and the repositories, one of the things that we had in the back of our mind, because rolling back, unfortunately, is also part of our daily life. Yeah.
And also we have our two young players, two young architects from IGT here with us. So during the coffee break, if you have more deep technical questions, feel free to contact them.
We have another question over here.
Colleague from Schwarz IT. Yes, please.
Exactly. So I'm interested. So thank you very much for the talk. It was really interesting. I would be interested in your, do you have any deployment strategies in place? You mentioned you're using the rolling upgrade functionality. You might run multiple replicas of one interface, so I assume in production. So do you ever have the need, maybe when you deploy a new API, that one of the pods is still running the old API while the other pod is already updated and running the new API, so clients get errors? So we had that in the past, that's why I'm asking.
So you might have noticed when I said we have a zero downtime concept that basically comes out of the box. This is not entirely true, so there is, this basically means we had to add some custom code to this as well to really make this happen. But currently this works this way, and at the moment we haven't faced any issues also when we run multiple pods, because if you have the downtime anyway, at one point you have the old version still and at the next point you have the new version. So basically the first call, which still gets the old replica or the old node of the 2 or 3 replica set workloads, still gets processed with the old code, and the next one then already has the new one. But no, we didn't face any business logic point of problems, if this is the question.
Yeah, because we had clients already expecting the new API basically, and then they will complain that they're missing a field in the API because during the upgrade only the new pods were serving this new field and the old ones basically were not. Okay. And that's then when we changed the deployment strategy basically, that's why I'm asking if you had similar experiences already.
No, luckily not, but maybe we just haven't discovered it, and maybe we find the chance to connect later on a little bit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Our time is up.
Yeah, okay, so that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.